I was born at the end of 1963, and then a few months after I was born, my parents moved to New York because my father was a painter and he got the Guggenheim grant to go and work in New York. And my mother, who has Irish background, was a social worker, but her English was perfect. So the two of them moved with me and my sister to New York, and so my first memories are being with my father and my mother in Central Park with hippie people. It was a very happy childhood in the mid 60s. And a few years later, my parents decided to move back to Argentina. So when I arrived to Buenos Aires, I was 5, and then I kept on having a very happy childhood in a very leftist family. They were not communists, but they were very leftist. And my father was an artist who had stopped painting, but he started opening bars. They had many friends, and it was a funny period in Argentina until there was a dictatorship, and then the two of them, because of the political choices, had to escape from Argentina. And I'm very happy that my father and my mother decided to move to France, because from the age of 13 on, I was in a country, and mainly in a city where there were hundreds of cinemas, there were museums, and yeah, I really enjoyed moving to Paris after Argentina. If my parents had stayed in Argentina, probably I would not be a filmmaker today. I don't know what I would be, but it was the fact of arriving to a city in which people really loved the history of cinema that made me want to study cinema after. And the two of them were very helpful. They were very excited about me studying cinema when I was 17. I remember he advised me and my sister to choose like artistic professions if possible, because he saw that artistic professions are funnier than scientific or bureaucratic professions. So my sister now is a painter. I didn't want to compete with my father, but I always loved comic books and I always loved cinema. So when I finished my secondary school, I wanted to study cinema, and he said, "Oh, yeah, of course, go for it. I would help you." But the real film buff, the person, the more obsessed with cinema in my family, or the most obsessed, was my mother, and she was bringing me to see all kind of European movies, classics, or even Bergman movies or Fassbinder movies when I was a kid. So I saw many adult movies with my mother, and then I had a friend whose family was working in many movie theaters. So almost every day I was going to see a movie in a movie theater, not only for kids but for a mature audience, because we could cheat to get in. So yeah, I got addicted to cinema very early, and I was lucky. I like watching good movies on a big screen. I also like falling asleep watching movies on DVD at night. I don't watch TV. I mostly just buy in France. You can still buy Blu-rays, DVDs, and sometimes I put the movie at night and I fall asleep. And I'm happy to fall asleep watching them, because the next day I restart, or I restart from where I stopped. It's not a big issue for me. I feel you have the music of the movie and you dream about it, and then you see it the next day. But of course, good movies are made to be seen on a good screen with a good sound, and yeah, I always try to see every movie in its best condition. I was talking a few minutes ago of an Italian movie called Umberto D by Vittorio De Sica, a movie from 55, 56, about an old man who struggles because he has no money. He has a little dog to feed, and he can manage to to feed his dog. So it becomes a very sad melodrama about a man who loves his dog, but he's even considering killing the dog because he's ashamed of not feeding him. And when I saw that movie, I suddenly understood how much old age could be difficult for some people. It was not the case of my grandparents, but for some people, old age is not only about losing your mind or getting sick or getting cancer. It's also about not having money to eat normally. Yeah, that movie affected me. If I had to say 10 other movies that affected my life, stupidly, when I was a kid, I loved going to see James Bond movies, but not because of James Bond or the guns or the cars in the movie. It was I thought all the girls in bikini were so pretty that probably those movies made me excited in a very young age, and then and lately the James Bond movies are not sexy at all, so I don't know why people go to see them. What else changed my life? Oh, the movie that really changed my life is 2001: A Space Odyssey. I saw it. My mother brought me to see it when I was 6 or 7 years old, and yeah, that was my biggest film experience ever. Like watching that movie at that age. I really was transported to another dimension far from our planet, and even the psychedelic ending of the movie put me in a state of trance that I hadn't known before. So since that first time that I saw that movie on a big screen, I wanted to rewatch it every year as a kid, as a teenager, and then as an adult person. And when you know that someone managed to do such a perfect, ambitious movie, it makes you want to make movies. But the cinema dying? No, cinema is not dying. It's just no the way cinema is consumed today is very different according to the countries. For example, now in Argentina, I was there two weeks ago to see my father. People don't go to cinemas anymore. Everybody's watching movies on platforms, Netflix, HBO, etc. And in some other countries, there's still a love of the big screen, of the theater. And I noticed that here there are cinemas that have like the best screen, the best sound. And right now, my movie Vortex is playing at Moskvу, and it's true that when you see the movie on a big screen, you're more transported than when you see it on a laptop. But sometimes the only way to see an old classic is to download it on your laptop, and the movie, the movie is still the same, but the emotion is not as strong as if you can see it in the best conditions. No, I don't say cinema will not die, and there were some attempts to move the 2D cinema to a 3D cinema, but there are gimmicks that work better than others for the moment. The latest big change in cinema is that people now like watching series on TV or on platforms that are sometimes 10 hours long. Sometimes it's 25 episodes of 1 hour, so it's 25 hours of and now, so there is a new kind of cinema that can be extremely long, and so the cinema is evolving and taking other ways of existing.